I'll answer questions, or we come back next week with some more.
Dr. Berg, one of the things that, you know, and I understand the consequences in year-round schools and those kinds of concepts. The one thing that bothers me is that there's also a lot of things that need to be refurbished, reinvested, all of those things. You know, we're talking a timeline that's way down there for those projects and those things to get done, if they get done at all. And so we still have what I see. And, you know, I understand you have to make plans, and so I'm not arguing that fact. But for me as a board member, you know, I think that, you know, and I won't be here for all of that, but as you look forward, knowing that the needs still exist for our facilities, we've got kids in inappropriate spaces, those kinds of things. You know, the other thing that I think this board is going to have to face, at least in my opinion, is that, you know, it may be that there are things that have to be taken care of, and it may be that, you know, we have to maximize the amount of borrowing power that we have. You know, schools in the past were able to do things like lease purchase and different kinds of things. I know those are not options now, but, you know, we have not maxed out the millage, trying to be good stewards and do those things, but at some point we're going to have to, I think this board's going to have to step up and say these things have to be taken care of. And so whether or not, and it's not a whole lot of money in all honesty for people to support this referendum, and to take care of our needs and to bring us back where we need to be to be the district that we are, and our faculty and our teachers. I'm just amazed at what they do every day in the spaces that they've been given. But, you know, at some point we're going to have to do a little bit better, and it may be that's an option that maybe y'all can look at too. Look at what the money's going to be. You know, how much can you raise the millage without voter approval? I think we're not there yet.
No, you have quite a bit of authority.
And so, you know, that may be that's the thing that gets done. You know, that we just say, you know, we have to step up to the plate, and we're going to have to. Maybe that's not what everybody wanted to hear, but at some point, yes. You know, we have. I think tried really hard with this message, and, you know, nothing is ever perfect, but, you know, I'm just amazed at people that live in the same community and are so negative. I just don't get it. My kids did great in this district, and we saw the talent that was here a little earlier, quite amazing. And, you know, I think this board is going to have to step up to the plate with another option. Ms. Baumgartner.
I was concerned about specialized space like shops and culinary arts, anything that requires specialized space that we have a desire for and have kids that want to be in those programs.
This proposal does not address that. We will work on it during the next 3 or 4 months to see what we can do, but you just don't have the money to do the remodeling of the building that kind of a desire requires. It's just not there. And by the way, if I thought this was going to turn around in a year or two, this was a 2-year deal, I would not bring this up to you. But 3 failures, a couple of years of studying the thing and trying to figure it out, it's really 3 Novembers before you're going to have a chance to do it again. And then you have to talk about if it passes or fails. So that's why I'm saying this. You're looking at a 5 to 7 year period here where it's going to be quite difficult, and it would not be responsible not to talk about it in advance. To come back on Wednesday, November 5th, and say something would not be fair to the public. You need to have it on the public record in a position where people can talk about it.
I appreciate you being so candid with us and with the audience. I think it's wonderful and refreshing, and I appreciate it very, very much. Can you address how you would look at, you touched on this at the last meeting, fine-tuning the referendum to address these issues in the Irmo cluster? We have plans for adding X numbers of classrooms to certain schools. What are we going to do there?
Well, I'm going to be looking at the capacity of the schools the number of students there and trying to match the number of kids to capacity. And I think you've got one too many elementary schools. I don't want to get too far because I haven't really studied. In two of the schools, I think you were going to add on up to 750. I don't think that's necessary. I don't think it is. And over the next month or so, we'll work on that. To me, right sizing the district is more important than building extra space where you don't need it.
Nothing that you said about closing a school does away with the need for renovations
Not at
of
all.
all of those elementary schools, including one that might be repurposed.
Yes.
So that doesn't really save a tremendous amount of money. The other concern I have about high schools is the impact on extracurricular activities and sports programs for kids who are on a quarter that might not match their particular interest. And I know that can be done, but the complications seem great.
Because high schools have done this all over the country, they've actually worked out the bugs on that. The normal thing to do is if you have 2,200 kids, by lottery, you pull one quarter off. And they take one vacation, another quarter, another vacation. But you also have to be sensitive to programs and athletics or music, some other things get involved there. But when you look at the websites of schools, high schools now, that are on a year-round schedule like this, they have worked out all of those bugs about 20 years ago. So it'll take a little bit of work, but they're certainly fixable issues.
I just had one comment. Dr. Berg, as you look at this and look at options, I know that we already in some of our high schools have teachers that we hire that don't have a classroom card or
Yes.
whatever. And I know that even, which I hope with all my heart that this bond referendum is going to pass, it's not an immediate fix. November 5th, we don't have these schools. We still have growth occurring, it may be slowing down some, but in your planning process, I'd just like to ask you to continue to look at all the options and knowing that some of these fixes will be 4 and 5 years down the road possibly. So I know that that's not a situation we want to be in, especially when we're competing for the best teachers in the Midlands area, but I think it's something that we probably, it's upon us already, so
Listen, I don't want to be negative. I think Mr. Collins and others who are working on this are doing a wonderful job of trying to educate the public on this bond issue, where the money will go and how it will be used. I think they're doing a great job. But there are two sides to it. There's a consequence to a yes and a consequence to a no. And I think we need to be out front and public about what the consequences are and what we see. And all of these items we made note of, and during the next weeks and months, we'll try to come back and talk about it with you.
Well, I hope we continue to be green and growing, like Mr. Peller used to say, and that people want to come to our district. And, you know, when you look at the cost of gas and all of those things in the lower end of the district, and your whole cluster of people driving to school, you know, I think those areas are going to be very attractive for folks and young families to move into. And, you know, I hope this is going to work for us, and that people will see us as a positive district and not be defined by the negatives. It's been way too long that voice has been so loud in our district that I think has been unfortunate for us and for our community.